this hour, just over 6 months until the midterm elections. President Trump is not doing the Republican Party any favors. We're nearing the end of the second month of Trump's war with Iran with no end in sight. Also, instead of bringing consumer prices down, as Trump promised to do over and over and over again, we have seen higher prices at the grocery store and the gas station. Trump's redistricting efforts also appear to be backfiring, leading to the potential of more House seats for Democrats. And while Trump has tried to convince Americans not to believe their own lying eyes, numerous polls show Trump with record low approval ratings. And if that wasn't bad enough for Republicans, Trump is facing a fractured coalition, losing the support of some of the biggest names in the conservative media and movement like Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly, causing Trump to go on the offense against them. Joining us now at the table, Maria Teresa Kumar, MS Now contributor and president and CEO of Voto Latino, and Kurt Bardella, publisher of the Watchdog Report on Substack. He's also a former spokesperson and senior advisor for Republicans on the House Oversight Committee. Thank you both so much for coming on. Fabulous event, Voto Latino last night. Our voices. Laura Brown Lopez getting an award, our colleague. I want to start by playing Tucker Carlson with his mea culpa on his role in helping the rise of Trump. Let's play that.
We're implicated in this for sure.
Yes.
It's not enough to say, well, I changed my mind, or like, oh, this is bad, I'm out. You and me and millions of people like us are the reason this is happening right now. I do think it's like a moment to wrestle with our own consciences. We'll be tormented by it for a long time. I will be. And I want to say I'm sorry for misleading people. It was not intentional. That's all I'll say.
It was not intentional. He's tormented. And yet, here are, I'm going to keep you from getting in trouble. Here are private texts.
That's a good friend.
Exactly. Private texts from Tucker Carlson after the 2020 election. This is what he wrote himself. What he's good at is destroying things. He could easily destroy us if we play it wrong. Called Trump a demonic force, a destroyer. I hate him passionately. We are very, very close to being able to ignore Trump most nights. I truly can't wait. That's the last 4 years. We're all pretending we've got a lot to show for it because admitting what a disaster it's been is too tough to digest. But come on, there isn't really an upside to Trump. These were all disclosed in discovery in the Dominion voting systems defamation lawsuit against Fox News. Maria Teresa, why should people believe his mea culpa and apology now, especially when there's all this hubbub about him possibly wanting to run for office, when he did something similar about Trump and knew who he was?
Well, this is the thing. You see him, you see Candace Owen, you see all of the folks on the extreme right saying, oh, he's not the man that I thought he was. And it's rallying up the base to say, oh, my gosh, you're exactly right. But then let's also remember Tucker Carlson, who his friends are. He's fairly close to Putin. He's very close to Oregon. So it's almost like, are you actually making this play that you do want to run for president because you have friends on the outside as well? And I think that's where we have to have this conversation. Remind him who is the essence of who he is. And is it really for the country or is it for Tucker Carlson? Interesting enough, you go to all these parties last night where all the reporters are talking and there's clatter and stuff. And there are a lot of folks who live and breathe YouTube and the web say that he has a huge audience, that if he were to throw his hat in the race, he would be formidable. And they're trying to say who could contest him on the Democratic side. And people keep scratching their heads. They're not sure. The only person that seems to be going to on all of the shows, whether it's Tucker Carlson, Candace Owen, is Ro Khanna. The Democrats are absent, so they're not even cultivating the base that we would need in order to take back the White House. So it's a curious stance that they're doing, but I would say that Tucker Carlson has always been Tucker Carlson, so he's coming back to himself.
And Donald Trump has always been Donald Trump. And your point about him being politically aligned with those two is very interesting.
I mean, we don't have Tucker Carlson on MS. He's not necessarily on NBC or mainstream media. But I do think something that we don't get to talk about enough on the show that I would like to talk about more is how much value and utility is there in Democrats going on Fox News and speaking to these, being able to toggle between the manosphere crowd, conservative media, and owning the media, the fractured media landscape a little bit more. Because I do feel like a lot of times when we do have Democrats on, the implication is that there is not a lot of usefulness in communicating with those audiences.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the challenges that Kamala Harris faced is she didn't want to go to Joe Rogan. But if you want to govern and be president of all Americans, you can't be afraid of going on those platforms. Because then you're not going to be able to bridge, I think, a lot of the fracture that we see in this country.
Yeah, I mean, there's two jobs here. There's one, preaching to the choir, because that's the only way you can get them to sing. So that's the utility of going on, more ideologically aligned platforms. But at the end of the day, the job is to convince people wherever they are and to meet them wherever they are to at least consider your path, your vision, your ideas. You cannot do that if you don't go to where they are. You cannot do that if you don't understand where they're coming from. If the conversation is, I want to change your mind. I want you to do something that you didn't do last time and consider it right now. The only way you're going to even be open to having that conversation is if you go to where they are. You don't tell them, well, meet me where I am, and here's why you were wrong, and let me preach to you and make you feel bad and come from a place of self-righteousness. It's going into their backyard. It's understanding their culture. I'm leaving right after this show. I'm going to Georgia to see Jason Aldean and Luke Bryan play a stadium show tonight in Athens, Georgia.
Who's that?
Jason Aldean and Luke Bryan, two of the biggest country music superstars on planet Earth.
Sorry.
And it may not be your jam, but they're going to be selling out an 80,000-seat stadium tonight in Georgia, which is a fairly important state. But it's like understanding where this is where a lot of people are in this country, and wherever their politics are, if you don't understand why tonight those guys are going to fill a stadium in a swing state like Georgia, you're not going to ever get those people, their fans, to vote for you either.
It's amazing that they can afford the tickets to go to this concert, given the way the economy is. And I just want to put up this Fox News poll about who would do a better job on the economy.
Who's that from again?
Fox News.
Okay, just check.
Fox News poll. Incredible poll. You know why we're showing this. And look at this number. 52% said Democrats would do a better job on the economy. 48% said Republicans. Two things jump out at me because of this poll, aside from it being Fox. The last time Fox News recorded a Democratic edge on the economy, it was May of 2010. Oof. May of 2010. One. Two, this is significant because Donald Trump ran on the economy. It was his number one issue, along with immigration, that helped propel him into this second term in the White House, Maria Teresa. And Republicans are underwater writ large on this, but we showed in the intro, in Eugene's intro, the president himself, his job approval rating is below 40%. So what does that... Let's leave aside, go to where they are and talk to them. Yeah. What does that say about November?
Americans are suffering. Americans are suffering. We came out with a poll with Murmuration that basically surveyed 6,500 individuals, and 89% of them have had to change their lifestyle because of gas, because of prices. 89%. We have never seen that before. And when we asked, well, why are you making these changes? They mentioned the president, number one, and government policy, number two. When asked who can fix it, they said government. The American people have never pointed to government as fixing their problems, right? And that, again, was mind-blowing. So I do think that the reason that the people are feeling under duress, they're saying, you know what, gas is too expensive, the tariffs are hitting us, and immigration is a problem, not just because of the chaos it's causing us, but because I can't find workers, because I can't find people that can actually help support the work that I need to do. And so I think that is really detrimental to the Republicans. And that's why I think that there's some of them, they're starting to shy away from the president because they recognize that he's actually not good for them.
The House, everyone's been talking about the House for a very long time. Not our houses, the House behind us, the House of Representatives, and that being up for grabs, that Democrats are likely to take that. One person months and months ago, I just want to make sure everyone knows, said this a lot. This man over here said 2000, this year reminded him of 2006, where the House, everyone said the House was going to happen, but then Democrats that night also took the Senate. No one thought it. So I just want to say, when people start writing them think pieces about 2006, this man said it first. Nate Cohn.
Trying to make the Senate.
Exactly. the New York Times, Nate Cohn wrote a story this week. Why a Democratic Senate, once unthinkable, is a real possibility. In recent polls, Democrats appear tied or ahead in 4 Republican-controlled seats. the number they would need to take the Senate. These include Maine, North Carolina, where the likely Democratic nominees hold clear leads, as well as Ohio and Alaska, where Democrats have recruited strong candidates in states Mr. Trump won by double digits in 2024. There are also signs that Republicans could be in danger in 2 more states where Mr. Trump won by double digits, Iowa and Texas. Kurt, this feels, even if Democrats don't take the Senate, closing the gap also helps everything down ballot.
Yeah. It's interesting. I live in Dallas, Texas, and I can tell you one of the real interesting, and it's not a scientific data point, but I am seeing in neighborhoods, in communities, James Tallarico signs. Yeah. And let me tell you something. A Democrat in Texas is not inclined to put yard signs in their front, yard. Yeah. It's not something you take a big billboard out usually to make yourself a target in this era that we live in. And the fact that I am taking my walk around the block and seeing Tallarico signs, that's really interesting. That tells me there's actual grassroots enthusiasm for this candidate, that voters are genuinely excited to see a candidate talk to them. Again, he meets you where you are. That's why he's so powerful as a candidate and on the stump. And if I'm seeing that in Texas, in Dallas, in communities that I know vote hardcore Republican, or all the dads I see at school are MAGA, and that type of presence is being felt in literally my own backyard, that tells me there's something very big happening across this country in places that we're not even thinking of right now.